Hello, fellow adventurers. I'm thrilled to welcome you to our digital realm, a place where pixels come alive. So let's begin with our story.
After some conversation and exchanging compliments, they bid each other farewell. Later we witness the protagonist unwinding in a bath after a tiring day. Protagonist:
As a duchess-to-be, I bet my maids will prepare baths for me from now on.
She compares her new life with the previous one.
So what if there's no internet here? It's a small trade-off for not working and no household chores. I'll never need to worry about bills, annoying coworkers, or my gambling addict brother. In this new life, I will fill my days with opera, picnics, tea parties, and balls.
Suddenly a voice came from behind her. She was shocked to see Killian in the bedroom. According to the book, Killian shouldn't be in the bridal suite tonight. Killian:
Why are you so surprised? Who else would come into the bridal suite other than the bridegroom? What a heartless bride you are.
The protagonist replies:
Oh, I didn't think you wanted to come tonight. You weren't exactly hiding it, Killian. You didn't even let me put the ring on your finger during the wedding.
Killian tries to intimidate the protagonist by criticizing her.
What did you expect then? Did you expect me to fall over you like a lovesick fool?
Instead of getting mad or angry, she thinks about Killian's looks.
Oh my god, he looks even more handsome up close. Anyway, making him madder at me won't help, and I honestly don't have the energy to argue with him.
The protagonist replies:
I'm just telling it as I saw it. I noticed that you didn't want to touch me, so I didn't expect you to come here tonight. So are you planning to sleep here tonight with me?
Protagonist tries to tease him. Killian fails to provoke the protagonist, and his attempt to insult the protagonist goes in vain. In full of rage, Killian flinches, turns around, and runs out of the room. Running through the hallway, someone calls Killian from behind and questions him.
Were not you going to Lady Edith's room?
Killian sees that it is none other than Rise.
Rise, I did go, but she was not looking forward to tonight, either. She is dozing off in the bathtub by herself. Rise, don't you know what Count Reigelhoff? You can't trust the words that come out of a Reigelhoff's mouth. You never know whether they are complimenting you or mocking you. You need to always be careful around them.
So, was what Lady Edith said to me admiring me and my dress earlier a lie? Perhaps I shouldn't have taken her words at face value.
She made a negative comment about a dress that you didn't even choose yourself.
No, not negative. Killian, she must have felt terrible, but she couldn't even tell me that.
She must have felt terrible. Just look at her, how her wedding dress was. She had no right to complain about your dress. Her wedding dress was over the top and ridiculously ostentatious. Yes, it was vulgar.
Vulgar? She's your wife, Killian. How could you say such a thing?
And Rice gets angry at Killian, and Killian tries to calm Rice's anger. Suddenly a voice calls Rice from behind, and it turns out to be Cliff. And we can sense there's a rivalry between the two brothers for Rice's love. As the scene shifts, we see that it's morning and the protagonist has just woken up from slumber.
Wow, I can't believe I woke up so early, especially after yesterday's ordeal.
She appreciates her new, healthy 22-year-old body. Protagonist:
I have to look on the bright side. I have this healthy body. After all, perhaps I can win over the Duke and Duchess. Even if Killian is focused on Rice, the protagonist of this story, my in-law might be different. The Rudwichs were generous enough to take Rice in as a ward. With time, they might open up their hearts to me too. Although I didn't make a good first impression on them. Alright, I'll visit them for breakfast.
One of the best ways for a villain to survive in a romantic fantasy novel is to win over the key supporting characters. If the protagonist wants to survive in the Rudwick family, the opinions of the Duke and Duchess, her in-laws, are the most important.
After all, my ultimate goal is to lead a quiet life of leisure in this manner. To do that, I need to earn their trust. Any in-laws would appreciate their new daughter-in-law dropping by to greet them the morning after the wedding. As this appears to be the bell rope I've read about in the books, it's so cool. Right. With the help of my maid, I can transform into a demure daughter-in-law in no time.
She rings the bell and suddenly a maid appears out of thin air. The protagonist asks for her help to get dressed. The maid shows her some dresses, but our protagonist doesn't like them at all. They are quite revealing and vivid. Protagonist:
I can't visit my in-laws in a dress like this. I'm embarrassed just thinking about it.
The protagonist asks the maid to make some changes to the dress.
Tell the seamstresses to cover up the cleavage on this dress and take off the excessive decorations.
As the scene shifts, we see that all the dresses have been prepared as the protagonist requested.
Wow, she's very obedient. I did not have to say it twice. I guess this is normal. The Reigelhof maids were the exception.
The protagonist suddenly remembered the previous night's incident and how Killian had behaved. She briefly considered leaving a bit of blood on the sheets but quickly dismissed the idea.
Never mind. If I did something like that on my own, Killian would be freaked out. Just like in the novel, Killian is saving his virginity for Rice. There's nothing wrong with saving his virginity, but it seems a bit much to have the secondary love interest also be a virgin. Anyway, why did he stop by last night? Just to fight with me? Well, I got to see that gorgeous face again, so it's a win for me.
The protagonist is so lost in her thoughts about Killian that she doesn't even realize the maid has finished her work. Blushing and full of love, the protagonist tries to hold back her feelings. She has already made up her mind that she will never fall in love with Killian. In the next scene, we see her greeting her in-laws.
Good morning, Your Grace. Did you have a restful night's sleep?
I had a good sleep, please have seat. You must be tired, but you still dropped by early in the morning. Are you feeling nervous around us?
The protagonist sees there is only one teacup on the side of the table.
They must have already heard that Killian didn't sleep in the bridal suite.
Suddenly Duke Rudwick intervenes.
Right, Edith, I know the Count adored you and treasured you. I'm curious if you know what duties will be as the lady of the household.
Thankfully, the protagonist has Edith's memories. Protagonist.
I can handle the ledgers and administration. I'm open to learning your preferred methods if you're willing to teach me.
I see. Your father taught you those specific skills, if nothing else.
Protagonists realize they don't view her favorably. They suspect she's here to spy on Rudwicks and didn't anticipate being accused of spying so directly. Protagonist.
If you don't trust me with that yet, I'm happy to learn other tasks. I will try my best to learn quickly.
I'm glad your father has taught you well. In that case, why don't you help me with my tasks, starting in 2 weeks? If you need something before then, you can tell me now.
Thank you. Then perhaps can you find someone to show me around the ground?
Who? Killian should help you with that.
He would never. He didn't even sleep in the bridal suite on the night of our wedding.
Never mind, I'll find someone for you to show you around the manor.
After the chit-chat, the protagonist leaves the room and takes a breath of relief. The atmosphere in the room had been suffocating. However, just as she exhales, she inadvertently collides with someone outside the room. Looking up, she is taken aback to find the head of household administration standing before her, but just like Anna, the protagonist's maid, he is not mentioned in the novel. This place feels like its own reality rather than the plot of a book. Then the butler leads the protagonist through the entire mansion, showing her the armory room and the main library, where the most precious jewels are stored. The protagonist is amazed by the Rudwick's wealth. Protagonist.
Can I come to read here any time, or do I need to get permission?
As a member of the Duke's family, you can visit at any time. The same applies to Sistine Hall, where new artworks are displayed monthly.
In the protagonist's past life, she couldn't even afford to go to the local art gallery. Here, there's a gallery in the house. She is so happy to have everything in her new life that she had dreamed of. The protagonist asks the butler to show her the exquisite hall and the art gallery. He shows her the hall. After some time. Butler.
Since the grounds are too extensive to cover in just one day, we will end the tour here for today and continue tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Rhinon. I'm excited to live in such a magnificent house.
The protagonist praises him for the day.
I was just doing my duty. If you have time the day after tomorrow, we'll finish the rest of the tour then. And I suppose I should tell you about this place on our way back. We are at the Grand Gazebo.
Out of curiosity, protagonist asks about the Grand Gazebo?
Yes. It's the perfect place to see the grounds. When we have guests over, we invite them here. Also, the Duke and Duchess enjoy spending time here.
Suddenly, the butler felt a chilling silence settle in. It was as heavy as Mount Everest. The protagonist silently watches Killian having a tea party with another woman, which crushed the protagonist's heart and left her frozen in shock. She takes a deep breath and pretends as if it did not affect her at all. In an attempt to sympathize with the protagonist's situation, the butler expressed his concern.
Why would the young master be in the company of another woman just a day after his wedding?
Perplexed, the protagonist scratched her head and wondered.
What would happen if Edith were here instead of me?
Despite her internal turmoil, the protagonist suppressed her feelings, thinking, I don't care. I'm only interested in enjoying the lavish facilities in this manner. The protagonist finally began acting as if nothing had happened, to maintain composure. As the scene shifted, the butler shared detailed observations of the protagonist's intelligence and appreciation for the art gallery in Sistine Hall to Duke Rudwick. The butler noted the protagonist's dignified demeanor, which stood in contrast to circulating rumors. Furthermore, the butler mentioned an incident that happened in the gazebo garden involving Miss Rice and both young masters having tea. Duke Rudwick expresses disappointment at the Killian's actions, despite advising cautioned against providing any grounds for Editha to find fault within Rudwick.
To think he was chatting with another woman to the next morning after his wedding, despite advising cautioned.
We see a flashback where Duke Rudwick instructs Killian to control Edith until the end of the year to prevent Count Reigelhoff from allying with Grand Duke Langston. The butler.
But Lady Edith didn't seem to care at all.
What?
Although I couldn't read her mind, she did not raise a fuss or become agitated. She left as if she hadn't seen anything.
It looks like we shouldn't underestimate her.
Then the scene shifts. We see the protagonist had just finished the delicacies.
Let me clean up if you are done with your meal, ma'am.
Okay, thanks, Anna, for your help.
Protagonist in her mind.
I couldn't afford to eat out often in my past life, so I'm not used to others serving me.
The protagonist also shows her kind side to her maid by asking if she had a chance to eat lunch. If not,
you should go and eat. I will call you if I need you.
Anna the Edith maid was surprised. It was the first time someone had cared for her.
I made a good impression on the Duke and Duchess. Now the only problem is how to act around Rice.
And with that, our story comes to an end. You will know how our protagonist wins Rice's heart in the 4th episode of Eternal Twilight.